Hey, Sound Engraver here. Welcome to my first video involving composing and my composition process in Logic Pro. So as you can see here, this is a piece I'm currently working on called Sheer, and it's roughly in its final form in terms of structure. It's about approximately 5.5 minutes long. It involves a bass, a kick, some pads, with some noise gate there, and also percussion and percussive embellishments. Today, I wanted to show you a little bit of my workflow. I have the percussion section down, as you can see, with these two tracks. They're currently muted. I have the structure down, but I'd really like to line them up a little bit better, maybe organize the instruments a little better, and also just clean it up a bit because it is a lot of information. So without further ado, here is my piece without the percussion section. You're only going to hear the kick, and just a bit of disclosure, none of this is mixed. These are my instruments in their raw form. So here's my piece without the percussive embellishments. So you got a bit of an ambiguous blend of G major and E minor, and going into the piece, it will evolve more into this E minor category. So that's with the kick, the bass, and the pad there. So let's go ahead and take a listen to the percussion. We'll do this first track. Both tracks are the same instrument, but I'm using different voices, so let's just pay attention to this first track here. In terms of the instrument, I use the Alchemy synth, and this is under the techno section, our dubstep drum set. So I have it all the way at the drum kit with no missing frequencies. The cutoff is at 100%, relatively short attack, kind of a mid decay, maybe a little shorter on the shorter end of the decay there, and a little bit of a release. So let's take a listen. You'll also notice that I have all the plugins currently muted. We may visit these plugins a little bit later, but let's hear what it sounds like, and notice the piano scroll here. That is the MIDI data for this percussion instrument. Here we go. Right. So we'll get into that next section with the added pad instrument here. This is pretty clean. I do like the motion of it. There are some things I would like to tweak to clean up. For instance, bars 9 through 17, I like how it's lined up. Take a listen real quick. It helps that drive, it helps that pulse in the bass. However, bars 1 through 8, and this may be because it's at the intro and maybe I'll do away with it altogether, there's a feeling that it's a bit off. Even though it's kind of random with the percussion instrumentation, I get the sense that I'm tripping or I'm stumbling in my walk, in my musical walk here. Let's take a listen from bars 1 through 8. So bars 1 through at least 7, I feel like it's off. So I'm going to go ahead and line this up real quick. Let's see, beginning with, right at the beginning should be fine. But I get the sense that in bars 2 and 3, it's off by a beat. It's maybe 1 beat or 2 beats too early. So what I'm going to do is just experiment just a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and put this maybe halfway. And these I'm going to, let's see if I got it bigger, make it wider there. I'm going to line it up right on bar 4. And let's try that. That actually helped the phrasing just a little bit. Bar 2 is a little off. I feel like I'm tripping. So what I will do there is probably line it up right on the beat before that third beat, so the second beat. Let's hear how that sounds. So that's much better. I may fix this just a little bit. For instance, these are too long, and I think I will go ahead and put all these there. All right, so just a little bit better. Let's move on to bar 17. All right. So pretty much I just like bar 24. So I'm going to do some quick editing work, and we'll continue on just lining up this instrument. As I edit this, you may wonder, well, all this data looks random. There are some bits of pieces of information that are overlapped and not quite right. Maybe it's quantized, but it doesn't look quite right. Well, this is actually, this was recorded live in real time using SuperCollider. So before I get into editing this, let's just take a quick look at SuperCollider. Clear that window, and at using my tempo clock, I'm going to use this P-bind F here, which is using the MIDI instrument, the percussion here. And we've seen this before, PW Rand, using kind of that effect for meter, as well as using certain notes on the piano keyboard that you see here, using a scale, a minor scale, using also the degrees within the span of 1 octave, and middle C on the keyboard is MIDI note, MIDI number 60, so number 4, I believe, is E, 60, 61, 2, 3, 4, yes, E is 64. So I used that degree, and I started with that, essentially an E minor scale. So the instrument is the same, but I'm using a little bit different colors. Let's just take a listen, how I'm doing this in real time. And so that's the instrument I used. So kind of using that and recording that in real time. So that's where you get a little bit of this random, these random lengths. Now I did shorten the attack time, the sustain time, and also the release time for this instrument, which we will see a little bit later with this track down here. But that's where I'm getting this MIDI information. So SuperCollider is recording in real time. I just want to adjust the data a little bit and maybe clean it up. So there we have it. So where was I? I wanted to yeah, that wasn't really that bad. Yeah, that's the one I didn't want. And we'll shorten that, and it should be good. Yeah. All right, so some of the data has overlapped, but I did fix that in SuperCollider. All right, let's listen to bars 49 through 57. So that was pretty interesting. I actually did like bars 65 through 73. I did move on beyond bar 57. So I did like 65 and 73. However, I didn't care for 57 and 65. So this is the process for me, kind of taking the data that SuperCollider helped give me, and also kind of just rearranging it. So bars 57 through 65. Let's take a look at editing that and cleaning it up. The rest actually I think was fine, and I can use that. So here's 57. All right, I would like, I'm gonna line this up here, and I'm gonna line this up to where this last piece of data is on 59. Let's listen to it again. Yeah, that's it. I'm gonna move this over just a little bit. All right, not too much. Let's try once more over, and then I will get better at these shortcuts in Logic. I'm still not that proficient in them. And I'm gonna move you over to 61. Let's see how that sounds. That wasn't that bad. I'm gonna move maybe this over. All right, so that is a little cleaner, and I think that's enough information. For now, I don't think that's too much. So for that instrument, I'm pretty happy with. I'm pretty happy with that instrument. So let's move on. So as you can see, I have more of the same thing here. However, these actually are just copied blocks of data. So I might just use some of this. And in fact, I think I am right now. I'm going to go ahead, and that starts at 121. All right, so that should be the same, but we'll revisit that as we move along. Okay, so the second one is the same instrument. So for track 3, it's the same instrument, but I'm using a little bit more aggressive color. And while I like the rhythm, I think it's a little dirty. Let's take a listen. Let's actually take a listen without this percussion instrument here. Okay, so it's pretty straightforward rhythm, and putting it in context with this percussion here, there is a little bit of variety that I like. But it's still redundant and a little boring, and I'm not really a fan of all the sounds that I'm hearing. So I might like the rhythm, I might like the structure of the rhythm, but I might not like the sounds, or I might like the sounds and not the structure of the rhythm. So we're going to decide this right now. Just going through bars 41 through 49. And kind of, whoops, make that a little bigger. All right, so, and I believe these are 4 blocks that are the same. It is the same sequence of blocks. So let's just try the first 4 bars. Let's see what that is. So I actually kind of like that rhythm. I'm just not a fan of the sound. So let's see what is the sound I'm not particularly fond of. Okay, that's fine. Those are fine. Those are fine. Those are fine. Huh. Okay, it's deceiving me. Let's listen again. It does sound different. Well, okay. Let's just take a row of notes. This may take some time, so I will get back to you in a minute. All right. So I like the color much better. I think this is a little bit better. So what I did to change the color a bit, I didn't change the instrument much. I just put a little less, about 88% of the cutoff frequency, so some of the frequencies are cut out. I made the attack somewhat sharper, the decay somewhat longer, and I think a shorter release. And here's what it sounds like. I'm just going to go ahead and mute that first instrument. All right, so I actually like the color of that a little bit better. You can hear it with the instrument here. Let's see. So that's, I think, just a little bit better. However, I don't really care for the straight rhythm, that 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and it's a little boring. Even, you know, I can add some plugins, which I will maybe in a few minutes here. However, I want it to be as interesting as possible in its rawest form. So let's see what I can do with the rhythm. Okay, so let's change it up a little bit here. I'm just gonna, this is quite intuitive. I'm a very intuitive composer. I'm just gonna start mixing and matching and different things like that. Let's see how that sounds. Already better. That was nice. All right, let's do bars 43 through 45. All right, let's hear how that sounds. That's a little weak, so I'm gonna put that back. Yes, yes, that's really nice. All right, bars 45 through 49. Let's do the same thing. I like it compact. And let's actually have this, that's on beat 2, so it's somewhat strong a beat. And on the and of 2. And just, that's fine. Maybe go ahead and stagger it just a little bit more. In fact, maybe a good little, 16th note run, just a little bit. All right, so I like that phrase. It's about an 8-bar little gesture there. And let's add our other percussion instrument. That's nice. There was one little thing that stuck out. Let's see if I can catch it. Ah, that was it. Let's mute it. Control M, and let's see if it sounds better without it. Instantly better. All right. So that's actually how I clean up little things. I kind of just line it up and be intuitive about that. So what I'm going to do with this is simply repeat it again. And there's a little bit, you can see with this data here, there's a little bit more variation with this 8-bar phrase here. You can see the difference between this box here and this block, I should say. So because there's variance, I can afford to be a little repetitive with this instrument here. So let's see what that sounds all together. All right, so now we're just having a little bit of a quiet midsection where there is no percussion, so roughly 246 to 314. So this is what it sounds like, and then I'm introducing a new pattern, a new rhythmic pattern with my percussion. So let's take a listen. Okay, so I actually like that. It's off by it progressively gets off by a beat or two. So if you see it here in bar 105, it's right on the beat, right on the downbeat, right on the downbeat. Then bar 108 goes to the second beat, and then I think it was that's the third beat. Bar 111, it goes to the third beat. Now I may change that, but with some delay and some tremolo, that actually may be quite effective. Now here, it is the same thing with the previous percussion that we've kind of cleaned up over here. So let's take a listen, let's hear it in context, and let's see if anything needs tweaking. So I really, really like the exchange between this instrument here and these two gestures here. Now, it was a little crowded here with the instrument. Let's see, that is bar 131, and that's on our third beat. So you can already tell it's quite crowded. So if I were to change anything here, I'd actually change this instrument. So let's take a listen and let's try to clean it up some. Right, so let's just actually clean some of this overlap here. Make these shorter. In fact, I might even take these out. All right, let's see what that sounds like. Ah, that was my mistake. Let's try that once more. Okay. So you can hear there's kind of a call and response, you know, going back and forth. So I like how it is at the tail here, but it's a little crowded here. So let's see how that sounds. Going back to 129. Awesome. Yeah, it actually doesn't need it here at all. So that's pretty good. So let's hear it in context from 121. And we'll be on at this data, the MIDI data here for our first percussion instrument. So that actually was really muddied. It's very murky waters. So something I wanted to do, I wouldn't mind, let's try something. And I like to experiment with this. So we're going to take this out and we're going to copy this over here. See how that sounds. It still may sound crowded, but let's give it a go. So that's not necessarily bad. I don't think it's as effective. And I have to go back to bring it all in context. So let's go back to 121 and hear it. It's quite distracting. It goes into a different harmonically, the harmony is different. There's a different transition. It's a different pace, and I think the percussion is quite distracting here. So let's reverse that, redo that, and let's mute this, and let's see how it sounds without that instrument. All right. So I kind of like that straight rhythm. And I had to change the color just a little bit of those instruments. I think I would like these instruments here, but it's it's a little crowded. So let's see what we can do. Let's see how much we can clean up. And I may take a few minutes doing this, so I will get right back to you. All right, so yeah, a little cleaner. So that is, you know, I still have a few things to do with my percussion. So we made it cleaner. We made it line up much nicer. I like the straight rhythm again, but I actually may change it. In fact, just for kicks, let's try something. So I'm going to keep these 4 as the same sequence, two sets of 4 blocks. So let's just get rid of the first 4. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this, and let's just kind of see how that sounds. Could be awful, but could be awfully good. So we shall see. It's actually not bad, but the problem is I erased a lot of this that complemented this sequence right here. So okay, just you know, just to make sure, we're doing this right. I'm gonna play at bar 121 and just kind of hear the context. If I don't like it, I can always undo it. I don't want to mix it up so badly. That actually didn't sound wrong. Let's add, before we change anything or change it back, let's add our plugins. So without going into too much detail, just for time's sake, I added a ring shifter. I added a step effects, which you can see, I believe, under audio units. Oh, I can't remember. Yes, multi-effects, step effects here. So that is brought to you by Logic. A little bit of tremolo and just some light EQ. And let's hear it with both of them. All right. All right, so I'll see. I may just mix it up a bit. I actually might use this sequence again and put it here between bars 137 and 153. So for time's sake, we actually probably are going over. But yeah, that had to be done. I had to clean up the percussion a little bit. Maybe I'll get into the detail with maybe the plugins. With my percussion, and maybe if I decide to change up the voices a little bit, you'll see a bit of that there as well. So almost cleaner, not satisfied. There is potential, of course, but there's still a lot of work to be done. But it is cleaner. It is a nicer sounding group of percussion instruments. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed that little maneuver and a little bit of my workflow and how I compose things and edit things. So this was a pretty grueling editing process, so hopefully you weren't too bored with that. But anyway, thank you always for watching and listening, and I will see you next time.